Alright, what's up YouTube? It's been a minute. Today I'm going to be covering my 2020 updated setup video, quarantine edition, because as many of you know, and as many of you probably are affected by, is this whole coronavirus thing going on. So all of us are in lockdown. So I decided that, hey, what better opportunity to get back into creating videos than right now, since I'm cooped up at home, not doing anything else. Let's just go over some of the updated things that I've included into my setup, as well as some other the questions that I've gotten on Instagram. Main things are going to be obviously this beast right here of a monitor, which is the LG 49-inch ultra wide. The exact model name will also be in the description, as for every other product that I mention here, because I'm not going to memorize all of them by heart. But if you watched my previous setup video, you'll know that I was originally using the Dell 32-inch, which is also mounted up top, which I'll get to in a second. But I decided that, hey, I kind of wanted to save up and get a 49-inch because ultra wide, baby. Gotta do it. So all that screen real estate really comes into play especially when you're in software development or video editing, which I'm doing both of, which is great. It covers both of those bases, and it's been fantastic. I've had it for about maybe a couple months already, and I haven't had any major issues. The only small issues that come from it don't stem from the monitor itself, but from the docking station that I use, which would be the CalDigit TS3 Plus docking station. Not to their fault, it's just a firmware thing that they kind of have to patch. So once that patch goes live, I won't be having the issues I'm having, which is ultimately just a sleep. So once my laptop goes to sleep, trying to wake it back from sleep is an issue. So restarting the system is kind of the only solution that I have right now. And once that firmware update goes up, I'm sure I won't be having that issue. But yes, so the main upgrade is going to be obviously the 49-inch ultra wide. It's been beautiful. It's been great, getting a lot done. Mounted up top using a Vivo vertical stand is the original Dell 32-inch monitor that I was using previously. The monitor is great. A lot of real estate again. It's 32 inches. It's 2K. Runs fine. The speakers on it are great. Not going to go too in depth to it because I've had it before, but I decided that, hey, I don't want to, not use it, and I wanted to reuse it. So I found this vertical stand mount that I could use and put it up top. So I decided that I'd do it. Now, the one question that I've been getting on Instagram about it is, do you have neck strain using the monitor? And the answer is no. The only reason why is because it actually really isn't up that high, so I'm not, staring up all the way to my ceiling. Realistically, the only windows that go up there are the ones that I don't use actively, so kind of just the passive windows. So Spotify, you'll see my terminal window up there sometimes, and other miscellaneous stuff that I'm not actively looking at. So it's not causing any neck strain. If you're thinking about doing this kind of setup where you have a top-down monitor type setup, then I actually highly recommend it. I like it a lot better than having, a dual monitor from left to right or things like that. This is just super easy. The one thing I will say that I'm probably going to change soon is I'm going to mount the 49 onto that. I didn't do it initially just because I wanted to keep the stand, but now I'm realizing that I might want to mount it onto the actual stand itself just to kind of get more space back on my desk, but it's not too big of a deal, so we'll see. That's one thing that I might want to change soon. Next things I will get into is going to be obviously my laptop. That's another big upgrade that I've added to my setup, which is also going to be the MacBook 16-inch. The specs on that guy is going to be it's a 2.3 gigahertz i9 with 64 gigs of RAM and a 1 terabyte SSD. So obviously really highly spec'd out. Not the fastest processor, but it's still an i9, so it gets the job done. The only reason why I justified those specs was because, one, I do video and video editing at 4K, and I do a lot of software development. It's not too heavy on the workload, but just wanted to, as a creative and as a developer, I think that those specs justify themselves. That and photo editing also takes up a little bit of memory, so the 64 gigs really helps out a lot. I've never had anything chunk through any of the processes that I've done like this system has, and it's been great. The 16 inches on it as well. I would have thought it would be a little bit bigger. Yes, it's a little heavier, but I don't care. The screen on it is so good that I could honestly just take this out and not have to worry about bringing like my iPad to use with Sidecar and having a second monitor, although I'd probably do it. The screen itself is so big that it's just perfect. The increase in battery size on it has helped a lot. The battery is pretty good, although it is an i9 and that takes up a lot of resources, so battery life may not be as good as, you know, some of the other options out there, such as my Lenovo that I've used previously, that you saw in my previous video as well. The battery life on that guy was insane, but those were just base specs, so you know, typical specs you'll see in a standard laptop. But that's going to be one of the main upgrades that you'll see on my desk. The other one that I'm super stoked about is going to be my peripheral upgrades. So the keyboard and the addition to the Apple Magic Trackpad 2. So those are going to be two of the main upgrades. Obviously, this keyboard is a custom keyboard that I got out. Shouts out to SMKeyboards for working with me and getting this thing done, and it's been awesome to type on. I don't have the specs off the top of my head, but I will link them down in the description so you can check those individual parts out. But if you also want to work with him, he has an Instagram page at SMKeyboards. You can go check him out, you know, check out his work on his page. His stuff is super dope. He's easy to work with. He only has a limited amount of spots on his commissions, so if you want to work with him, you better get on it and get to it. The cable, that's the aviator cable that's hooked up to it, is from Deez Cables, Deez Cables. I will post him in the description as well, but that's also a custom cable with a month lead time. So if you're looking for any cables like that, especially right now, you're gonna have to wait a bit, but that's where that cable's from, because I know people are gonna ask that question. As far as the main question that I get asked a lot is, why do you use a mouse and the trackpad? For me, as you know, as a laptop user, this may not work go for desktop users because you don't have this, but for the trackpad, I actually like using the trackpad on the actual laptop itself when I'm not using, or when I'm out and about. I kind of like the feel, I like the native gestures that you have, you know, switching between desktop, switching between windows, things like that. So I kind of liked it for that aspect, so I got it. So I can, you know, navigate through all my windows and my desktops a lot more smoother than I would with the, nothing against the Logitech MX Master 3, which is great for navigation and things like that, but just kind of have that native feel right next to me is pretty cool. And then sometimes I'll switch back and forth between the two so that I can give my wrists a little bit of a break and just use my fingers, and it honestly feels great. I don't have any problems with tracking or anything like that, so it's been a great addition to the setup, and I highly recommend that if you guys are thinking about getting one, to do it. It is not a cheap alternative by any means. It still probably costs the same, if not more, than, you know, the MX Master 3. I think it's like $115 to $150 depending on what color you buy from Apple, but I think it's a cool little piece of tech that I have added as an addition to my setup. Other addition you'll probably see on my desk is also the addition to my mic setup. So I'm using an SM7B from Chau with a Rode mic stand attached to a cloud lifter for the gain boost, and then that goes into my Red Scarlet Solo 2i2, I believe is the model name, and then that ultimately goes into the docking station into my laptop. I'll use that primarily just for voiceovers. I decided not to use it for this one because I didn't want to deal with the multiple audio tracks, and then I'll also use it for my live streams or any other kind of video that I do on my MacBook. So you'll kind of see that into the fray, but that sits on my desk now. The other addition is going to be my Nintendo Switch that you'll see in the back right there. I've decided to get into Animal Crossing a lot more, and I've been enjoying it a lot. Having it on my setup is kind of like an easy switch over, especially with the 49-inch, because you can do PIP on it, or PIP, whatever you want to say. I really don't care. You can kind of split the monitors in half, so you can have my work laptop onto the left, and then you can have this Switch playing on the right. So I'll be playing Animal Crossing once in a while on a break, and just kind of relaxing, which is nice that I don't have to switch over to any other setup. It's kind of right there and just hack at it away, right? Another addition to the setup is going to be this guy right here, if I can point, the Logitech Stream Cam. So the lovely folks over at Logitech decided that they wanted to send this out to me, and I gladly agreed. They wanted to showcase this out once they released the product, and honestly, out the box, it's been so great to use. It's USB-C, 1080p 60 FPS, so obviously that checks my boxes as far as quality wise. And the coolest thing about it is it flips vertically, so you can use this in a horizontal or vertical position. So you can record at 16:9 or 9:16, which works for both YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram, or any other mobile platform. So for me, that checks all my boxes and is honestly a great product. So I use that daily. Now that we're in quarantine, I'm constantly using Zoom or things like that where I have to use video. This thing has been great. The on system microphone is pretty good. I obviously wouldn't replace it with a studio microphone that I have, but if you're looking for an all-in-one solution where you have a microphone and an HD video for streaming or video for YouTube and Instagram, this thing checks your boxes, and I honestly couldn't recommend it a lot anymore. Other than that, that's kind of the main points to the whole setup, the updated setup. That's kind of the additions. I briefly went over everything. I didn't really go into super in-depth detail as to what's been updated. Everything else has stayed the same aside from obviously the positioning. That's kind of the main thing, is that the positioning. I used to be up against this window. I am now up against the wall just because I like the light coming in off to the side rather than onto my face when I'm working. That might change, who knows? I'm always changing something. But the main things that obviously one that I want to change are going to be the mounting. The other things I'm also thinking about is maybe a new desk. This desk is secondhand. I'm getting a lot of questions about that on IG. About, what brand desk do you have? What size is it? I believe it's 60 inches wide and then 30 deep for the dimensions. So if that's what you're asking about, there you go. But again, this was bought secondhand from someone who built this locally here in San Jose. So I don't have a brand for you. The desk is a little beat up. There was water damage when I got the original desk, which I didn't care. I just wanted a sit-stand desk, which was great. It works fine. Sometimes you'll have a little bit of hitches coming up and down from sit-stand positions, but can't complain. Gotta use what you have. It's been great so far. It's lasted me a year, so I'm not mad at it. Actually, I think it's been more than a year. I don't know. That's it for the update. If you guys have any other questions, please do let me know down in the comments. Hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, whatever you want. I have all my socials down there. But again, thank you for watching this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe. It'd help me out a ton. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.